Sarah Mitchell had almost given up on finding love. At 42 years old, divorced for 6 years and working as a dental hygienist in suburban Tampa, she'd scrolled through countless dating profiles that all seemed to blur together. The same pickup lines, the same shirtless bathroom selfies, the same men who ghosted after 3 messages or turned out to be married. But on a Tuesday evening in late September, while her teenage daughter Emma was at volleyball practice, Sarah received a message that would change everything. "Your smile could light up the darkest room," the message read. "I'm Miguel, and I think fate brought your profile to my screen tonight." Sarah clicked on his profile, her heart doing that familiar flutter of hope mixed with skepticism that every woman over 40 knows too well. Miguel Rodriguez, 38, from Guadalajara, Mexico. The profile showed a handsome man with kind eyes, dark hair, and what appeared to be a fit, athletic build in photos taken at beaches and mountains. His bio mentioned his love for cooking, family values, and his dream of finding una mujer auténtica, an authentic woman. What made Sarah pause wasn't just his looks or his words, it was the effort. While American men her age sent hey or crude jokes, Miguel wrote in complete sentences. He asked about her interests. He noticed details from her profile, her love of gardening, her pride in her daughter, her dream of visiting historic sites in Mexico. "I'm a chef," he explained in their third conversation. "I run a small restaurant here in Guadalajara that's been in my family for 2 generations. Nothing fancy, but honest food, honest work. My mother taught me that feeding people is an act of love." Over the next 6 weeks, Sarah and Miguel talked every single day. Voice messages at first, then video calls. Though the connection was often poor, the screen pixelated, and Miguel apologetic about his terrible Mexican internet. She could make out his features, see him moving around what looked like a modest kitchen, hear the warmth in his voice. "Tell me about your day," he'd say every evening. And Sarah found herself looking forward to those conversations more than anything else in her routine. She told him about difficult patients at the dental office, about Emma's struggles with algebra, about her garden's battle against Florida's brutal summer. Miguel listened, really listened. He remembered Emma's volleyball tournament and asked about it days later. He sent Sarah recipes to try. He shared stories about his elderly mother, Maria, who he cared for after his father's death 3 years prior. "Family is everything to me," Miguel told her during one late-night call. "When my father died, I could have sold the restaurant, moved to America like my brothers, but Mama needed me. The community needed our restaurant. Sometimes the right thing isn't the easy thing, you know?" Sarah's friend Jessica was skeptical from the start. Over margaritas at their favorite bar, Jessica didn't hold back. "Sarah, honey, you've been talking to this guy for 2 months and you've never seen him clearly on video. That's a red flag the size of Texas." "The internet connection is bad in his area," Sarah defended. "Not everyone lives in a city with 5G, Jess." "Okay, but has he asked you for money yet?" "No, God, Jess, not everyone is a scammer. He actually sent me money last week, $50 through PayPal, to help with Emma's new volleyball shoes. He's generous, not manipulative." Jessica raised her hands in surrender, but her eyes held worry. "Just be careful, okay? Promise me you'll be careful." But Sarah was already too deep. Miguel had become part of her daily routine, her emotional support system, the voice she heard before sleep, and the first message she saw each morning. He made her laugh with stories about restaurant disasters, the time he accidentally used salt instead of sugar in a wedding cake, the health inspector who turned out to be his high school girlfriend. He made her feel seen. When she mentioned feeling invisible as a middle-aged woman, Miguel sent her a voice message that she saved and replayed whenever doubt crept in. "Sarah, listen to me. In Mexico, we don't worship youth the way America does. A woman in her 40s who has raised a child, who has survived a marriage and come out stronger. That is when a woman becomes truly beautiful. You are not invisible. You are becoming. It was exactly what she needed to hear. In late October, Miguel's messages began to shift subtly. Nothing alarming, just small mentions of difficulty. The restaurant had a slow week, but we'll be okay. Mama needs new medication, but I'll figure it out. The landlord raised the rent again. Sometimes I wonder if keeping this place open is worth the struggle. Sarah noticed, but didn't comment. She was raised not to offer money unless asked, and Miguel never asked. Instead, he did something that made her love him more. He accepted her emotional support without trying to solve everything himself. "Thank you for listening," he'd tell her. "Just talking to you makes everything lighter." By November, they'd been talking for 3 months. Sarah found herself daydreaming about Miguel during routine cleanings at work, imagining what it would be like to kiss him, to cook alongside him in his family restaurant, to introduce him to Emma. That's when Miguel made his move, though at the time it didn't feel like a move at all. It felt like love. "Sarah, I need to tell you something," he said during a video call on a Thursday evening. The connection was particularly bad that night, his face barely visible through the pixelation. "I'm falling in love with you. I know we haven't met in person. I know this seems crazy, but I've never felt this way about anyone." Sarah's heart raced. She'd been feeling it too, but was afraid to say it first, afraid to seem desperate or naive. "I feel the same way," she whispered. "Then come here," Miguel said. "Come to Guadalajara. Let me show you my world. Let me introduce you to Mama, to the restaurant, to the city I love. I want you to see if you could imagine a life here with me." Sarah's practical side immediately kicked in. "Miguel, I can't just—" "I know it's a lot to ask," he interrupted gently. "But Sarah, I can't come to America right now. The restaurant, Mama's health, my visa situation is complicated. But you could come here, just for a week. Stay in a hotel if you're more comfortable, no pressure. Just give us a chance to see if this is real." That night, Sarah couldn't sleep. She ran through scenarios in her mind. The risks, spending money on a trip to meet someone she'd never physically met, leaving Emma for a week, the possibility of disappointment or worse. The rewards, finally knowing if this connection was real, the adventure she'd been craving since her divorce, the chance at love with someone who truly seemed to see her. At 2 a.m., she made her decision. She booked a flight to Guadalajara for 3 weeks later, the week before Thanksgiving. She'd stay for 6 days. Miguel had offered to arrange a hotel near his restaurant, somewhere safe in a good neighborhood. "I want you comfortable," he insisted. "I want you to feel safe. This is about us getting to know each other in person, not about rushing anything." Sarah told Emma first, and surprisingly, her 16-year-old daughter was supportive. "Mom, you've been happier these last few months than I've seen you in years," Emma said. "Just be safe, keep your location shared with me and Aunt Jessica, and don't do anything stupid." Jessica was less enthusiastic but agreed to stay with Emma while Sarah was gone. "I still think this is insane," she said, "but I also get it. Just promise me you'll check in twice a day and that you'll leave immediately if anything feels off." The 3 weeks before the trip flew by in a flurry of preparation. Sarah bought new clothes, got her hair done, practiced basic Spanish phrases. Miguel sent her detailed information about Guadalajara, the best areas, the safest transportation, the food she had to try. "I'm counting the days," he told her every night. "I can't believe I'm finally going to hold you in my arms." 2 days before her flight, Sarah stood in her bathroom, looking at herself in the mirror. She'd lost 15 pounds over the past 3 months, not through dieting, but through nervous excitement and the giddy distraction of new love. She looked good. More importantly, She felt good. Her phone buzzed with a message from Miguel. Dos días más, mi amor. 2 more days, my love. Sarah smiled at her reflection and whispered to herself, 2 more days. Duh. What Sarah didn't know, what she couldn't have known, was that Miguel Rodriguez wasn't who he claimed to be. The man in the photos wasn't the man she'd been talking to. The restaurant wasn't his family's legacy, but a stock photo from a tourism website. And the romantic life he'd painted for her in Guadalajara was a carefully constructed fiction. But Sarah Mitchell didn't know any of that yet. All she knew was that in 2 days she'd board a plane to Mexico to meet the man she loved, full of hope and excitement for the future they might build together. She had no idea she was walking into a nightmare that would change her understanding of trust, deception, and the dark side of human nature forever. The plane touched down at 3:47 p.m. local time, and Sarah's hands were trembling as she gripped her carry-on bag. Through the small window, she could see the sprawling city of Guadalajara spreading out under the late afternoon sun, a mix of colonial architecture and modern buildings that looked nothing like Tampa's flat, humid landscape. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to Guadalajara, the flight attendant announced in English and Spanish. Local time is 3:47 p.m. and the temperature is a pleasant 75 degrees Fahrenheit. Sarah checked her phone the moment the seatbelt sign turned off. 3 messages from Miguel. Are you landing soon, mi amor? I'm at the airport. I can't wait to see you. I'm in the arrivals area, wearing a blue shirt like I promised. Look for me. Her heart raced as she gathered her belongings and joined the stream of passengers moving toward immigration. The line moved slowly, giving her too much time to think. What if he looked different from his photos? What if the chemistry wasn't there in person? What if... Next! The immigration officer's voice cut through her spiraling thoughts. 20 minutes later, Sarah pushed her luggage cart through the arrivals gate, scanning the crowd for a man in a blue shirt. The terminal was packed with people holding signs, families reuniting, taxi drivers shouting destinations. The noise and Spanish conversation surrounded her like a wave, and for the first time, the reality of being alone in a foreign country hit her. Her phone rang. Miguel. Sarah, where are you? I'm right by the exit doors. I just came through, she said, her voice tight with nervous excitement. I'm looking for you. I see you, he interrupted. Stay where you are. I'm coming to you. Sarah's eyes darted around the crowd. Then she saw him, a figure moving quickly through the throng of people waving, but something was wrong. The man approaching wasn't the athletic, fit Miguel from the photos. This man was much larger. He pushed through the final cluster of people, and Sarah's breath caught in her throat. The man in front of her weighed at least 450 pounds. His blue shirt was stretched tight across an enormous belly that hung over sweatpants stained with what looked like food. His face was round and sweating, his breathing labored from the short walk. He smiled widely, revealing yellowed teeth. Sarah, mi amor, you're even more beautiful in person. Sarah stood frozen, her mind unable to process what she was seeing. This couldn't be Miguel. This couldn't be the man she'd been talking to for 3 months. The photos, the videos. Miguel, she whispered. See, it's me. He moved to embrace her, and Sarah instinctively stepped back, her luggage cart between them like a barrier. You look different, she managed, her voice barely audible over the airport noise. Miguel's smile faltered for just a second before returning full force. Yes. I need to explain. Not here, too many people. Come, I have a taxi waiting. We'll go to your hotel. You can rest and we'll talk properly. Please, Sarah, let me explain. Sarah's mind was screaming at her to run, to get back on a plane, to call Jessica. But another part, the part that had invested 3 months of emotional energy, that had flown 2,000 miles, that desperately wanted this to work, that part made her nod slowly. Okay, she said, but yes, we need to talk. The taxi ride to the hotel was the longest 25 minutes of Sarah's life. Miguel sat in the front passenger seat. He couldn't fit comfortably in the back, talking constantly in a mix of English and Spanish with the driver. Sarah sat in the back, staring out the window at the unfamiliar city, her thoughts racing. "The photos," Miguel said suddenly, turning to look at her. "Sarah, I need you to understand. Those photos, they were from before, from when I was younger, healthier. The last few years after my father died, the stress, the depression, I gained weight. A lot of weight. I was ashamed to show you. I thought if you got to know my heart first, my soul, then maybe—" He trailed off, and Sarah saw genuine pain in his eyes. For a moment, she softened. She understood shame about weight, about aging, about not looking like society's ideal. "You should have told me," she said quietly. "I know. I'm sorry. But I was afraid I'd lose you before you even knew me." The hotel was in a neighborhood Miguel had described as safe and touristy, the Zona Rosa area, known for its restaurants and nightlife. The building was modest but clean, a 3-star establishment with a friendly front desk staff. "I'll wait here while you check in," Miguel said, settling onto a lobby couch that creaked under his weight. "Take your time. We can talk when you're ready." In her room on the 4th floor, Sarah locked the door and immediately called Jessica. "How is it?" Jessica answered on the first ring. "Did you meet him?" "Jess." Sarah sat on the edge of the bed, tears starting to fall. "The photos weren't real. He's not who I thought he was." "What do you mean? Is he dangerous?" "Sarah, get out of there." "No, not dangerous. Just different. Very different. He says he gained weight and was ashamed to tell me." Jessica was quiet for a moment. "What do you want to do?" "I don't know. I just got here. I paid for the whole trip. And part of me—" Sarah wiped her tears. "Part of me feels like maybe I'm being shallow. Maybe if I just give him a chance—" "Sarah Mitchell, listen to me." Jessica's voice was firm. "You are not being shallow. He lied to you. For 3 months. That's manipulation, honey. It doesn't matter why he lied." "I know, but—" "No buts. You owe him nothing. Come home. I'll help you change your flight." Sarah looked at herself in the bathroom mirror. Her carefully styled hair, her new clothes, the weight she'd lost, the excitement she'd felt just hours ago. It all seemed foolish now. Let me talk to him," she said. "Hear his full explanation. Then I'll decide." After hanging up, Sarah splashed water on her face and went back downstairs. Miguel was exactly where she'd left him, scrolling through his phone. He looked up when he heard her approach, his expression hopeful and anxious. "Can we take a walk?" Sarah asked. "I need air." They walked through the neighborhood as evening settled over Guadalajara. The streets came alive with vendors, music, and the smell of street food. Miguel explained everything between labored breaths, his father's death 3 years ago, the depression that followed, the comfort eating that spiraled out of control. "The restaurant," Sarah said suddenly. "Can we go there? See it?" Miguel's face clouded. "Ah, not tonight. It's closed. Renovations. I told you, remember, we're remodeling the kitchen." Sarah didn't remember him mentioning renovations. "Tomorrow, then?" "Maybe. We'll see. I want to show you the city first, the beautiful parts, the real Guadalajara." They stopped at a small plaza where children were playing and elderly couples sat on benches. Miguel bought them both churros from a cart, and they sat on a bench. "Sarah," he said, his voice serious, "I know I messed up. I know I should have been honest from the beginning, but everything else was real. My feelings for you, the conversations we had, the connection, that was all real. I'm still the same person you fell in love with, just in a different package." Sarah wanted to believe him. She really did. But something felt off, beyond just the physical deception, something in the way he avoided talking about the restaurant, the way his stories were vaguer in person than they'd been on the phone. I need time to process this, she finally said. Can we take things slow? Just get to know each other again in person? Of course, of course. Miguel's relief was palpable. Whatever you need. I just want a chance, Sarah. That's all I'm asking for. They walked back to her hotel as the city lights flickered on. At the entrance, Miguel took her hand. It was the first time they'd touched, and Sarah noticed his palm was sweaty. Tomorrow, he said, let me show you the cathedral, the markets, the things that make this city special. Give me a chance to prove that the man you fell in love with is still here. Sarah nodded, exhausted from travel and emotional turmoil. Tomorrow. In her room, she stood at the window looking out at the unfamiliar skyline. Her phone buzzed with messages from Emma and Jessica, both checking on her. She typed out reassurances she didn't quite feel. What Sarah didn't know was that Miguel had watched her window from the street below for 10 minutes before walking away. And she didn't know that he'd already sent a message to someone else, someone waiting in another part of the city. She's here. Phase 1 complete. Tomorrow, we move to Phase 2. Sarah went to sleep that night believing the worst of her problems was processing a man's deception about his appearance. She had no idea that the real nightmare was just beginning. Sarah woke to aggressive knocking on her hotel door. She checked her phone, 7:15 a.m. She'd only been asleep for 5 hours. "Sarah, it's Miguel. I brought you breakfast." Groggy and disoriented, Sarah opened the door to find Miguel holding a bag of what smelled like fresh pastries and 2 coffees in a cardboard carrier. He was wearing the same stained sweatpants from yesterday. "Miguel, it's so early." I know, but I was so excited." He pushed past her into the room, setting the food on the small table by the window. "I couldn't sleep. I wanted to start showing you my city as soon as possible. We have so much to see." Sarah felt uncomfortable with him in her room, invading her personal space, but she was too tired to argue. She noticed he was sweating heavily despite the cool morning air. "Let me just shower and get dressed," she said, grabbing clothes and retreating to the bathroom. When she emerged 20 minutes later, she found Miguel had made himself comfortable on her bed, shoes off, scrolling through his phone. The sight made her stomach turn. "Ready?" he asked, jumping up with surprising agility for his size. "First the cathedral, then the markets, then I have a special surprise for you." The day unfolded like a strange fever dream. Miguel was an enthusiastic tour guide, pointing out historical buildings and sharing stories, but Sarah noticed inconsistencies. He claimed his family had lived in Guadalajara for generations, but he seemed unfamiliar with basic street names. When they passed what he said was his family's restaurant, it was clearly a chain pizza place. "Wait, I thought you said—" Sarah started. No, not that one," Miguel interrupted quickly. "The other family restaurant. My cousin's place. I get confused. Come, let's go to the market." At the Mercado Libertad, Miguel stopped at nearly every food stall, buying and eating constantly. Sarah watched in growing discomfort as he devoured tacos, tamales, and sweetbreads, grease running down his chin. Vendors seemed to know him, but not in a friendly way. Their eyes held something else. Pity, contempt. "Miguel," Sarah said as they sat at a juice stand, "can we talk about something?" "Of course, mi amor. Anything." "Your mother. When do I get to meet her? You talked about her so much. I'd really like—" Miguel's expression darkened. "Mama is very sick right now, in the hospital. Actually—" He paused, looking down at his juice. "That's what I needed to talk to you about." Sarah's chest tightened. Here it comes, she thought. "She needs a procedure," Miguel continued, his voice breaking slightly. "The doctors say it's urgent, but the hospital won't do it until we pay. I've been trying to come up with the money, but the restaurant has been slow, and I've already sold everything I can." "How much?" Sarah asked, her voice flat. 25,000 pesos, about 1,500 American dollars. He looked at her with those puppy dog eyes. "I know I have no right to ask. I know you just got here, but Sarah, she's my mother, and I thought, maybe, since you're a dental professional, you understand medical emergencies." Sarah stood up abruptly. "I need to use the restroom." In the market's bathroom, she leaned against the sink, her heart pounding. Jessica's voice echoed in her head. "Has he asked you for money yet?" She pulled out her phone and searched Miguel Rodriguez Restaurant, Guadalajara. Nothing. She searched the address he'd given her for his restaurant. It was a residential building. When she returned to the table, Miguel was on his phone, speaking rapid Spanish to someone. He hung up quickly when he saw her. "Everything okay?" he asked nervously. "Miguel, I want to visit your mother in the hospital." His face went pale. "What?" "If she's sick, I want to meet her. Support you. Help if I can." No, the doctor said no visitors. She's in intensive care. Very fragile." "Which hospital?" "Sarah, why are you—" "Which hospital, Miguel?" The mask slipped for just a second. His eyes went cold, calculating. Then the warmth returned, but Sarah had seen it. "Hospital Civil," he said finally. "But really, they won't let you in." "Then take me to your restaurant, the real one." Miguel's breathing became heavier. "Sarah, you're being paranoid. I understand you're upset about the photos, but this is—" "I'm going back to my hotel," Sarah interrupted, standing. "Alone." "Wait!" Miguel grabbed her arm, his grip surprisingly strong. Several vendors looked over. "Please, don't go, I'm sorry. You're right to be suspicious. Let me show you everything. The restaurant, where I live, everything. Just give me a chance to prove I'm telling the truth." Sarah pulled her arm free. "I'll think about it. I need space right now." She walked quickly through the market, Miguel's heavy breathing following her until she lost him in the crowd. On the street, she hailed a taxi, her hands shaking as she gave the driver her hotel address. In her room, she locked the door, pushed a chair against it, and called Jessica. "I need to come home," she said, before Jessica could even say hello. "You were right, all of it. It's all lies." "Thank God," Jessica breathed. "Change your flight. Come home today." "I will. I just need to—" A knock at the door. Then Miguel's voice, different now, harder. "Sarah, I know you're in there. We need to talk. Now." Sarah's blood ran cold. "Jess, I have to go. I'll call you back." "Sarah, don't open that door. Sarah." She hung up and stared at the door as Miguel knocked again, louder this time. "Sarah, please. I'm sorry I lied, but you need to understand something. You're in my city now. You don't speak Spanish. You don't know anyone here. You need me. So let's talk about this like adults, okay?" The threat was barely veiled, and Sarah finally understood. She wasn't on a romantic adventure. She was trapped in a foreign country with a man who had been lying from the beginning, and she had no idea how deep those lies went or how dangerous he really was. Sarah didn't respond to Miguel's knock. She stood frozen, phone clutched in her hand, listening to his breathing through the door. "I can hear you in there," Miguel said, his voice now cold and flat. Nothing like the warm, gentle tone from their phone calls. "Sarah, you're being very rude, after everything I've done for you." After a long minute, his footsteps retreated down the hallway. Sarah exhaled shakily and immediately went to her laptop. She pulled up the airline website, searching for the next available flight to Tampa. The earliest was tomorrow afternoon, over 18 hours away. She booked it anyway, her credit card barely covering the change fee. Her phone buzzed, a text from an unknown Mexican number. "You can't just leave me. I spent money preparing for you. Do you know how much I invested in this? You owe me." Sarah's hands trembled as she typed back, "I don't owe you anything. Leave me alone." The response came immediately. "Check your email." Confused and frightened, Sarah opened her email. There were 3 new messages from Miguel's account, each with photo attachments. Her stomach dropped as she opened them. The first photo was of her, asleep in the airplane. Someone had photographed her during the flight. The second was of her at the airport yesterday, taken from behind as she wheeled her luggage through arrivals. The third was of her hotel room door, taken from the hallway just minutes ago, with her room number clearly visible. Another text arrived. I know everything about you, Sarah. Your address in Tampa, Emma's school, Jessica's workplace. Now let's talk about how you're going to make this right. Sarah felt ice water flood through her veins. This wasn't just about catfishing or asking for money. This was something darker, more calculated. She called the front desk with shaking hands. Hi, this is room 412. There's a man harassing me. He was knocking on my door earlier and I... Ah, si, Senora Mitchell, the desk clerk interrupted, his English heavily accented. Your husband explained. He said you had a fight. This is normal for couples, no? He seemed very worried about you. He's not my husband, He paid for your room, Senora. He showed us the reservation. Perhaps you should talk to him, work things out. We don't like to get involved in... Sarah hung up. Miguel had somehow convinced the hotel staff they were together. She was completely alone. A knock at the door again, but different this time. Official, authoritative. A voice called out in Spanish, then broken English. Senora, hotel security. We need to speak with you about a disturbance. Sarah approached the door cautiously. Can you show me identification? Slide it under the door. A pause. Then something slid under the door. It looked like a hotel security badge, but Sarah couldn't tell if it was real. Senora, we have received complaints. We need you to open the door or we must call the police. Police? Would Mexican police help her or make things worse? Sarah had heard horror stories about corruption, about tourists being extorted. I'm calling the American consulate, Sarah said loudly through the door. As you wish, Senora. But the man downstairs, he has papers showing he paid for this room. Maybe you should talk to him first, yes? Avoid problems with authorities? The footsteps retreated again, and Sarah immediately searched for the U.S. consulate in Guadalajara, closed until Monday morning, 2 days away. She texted Jessica, call the consulate, tell them American citizen in danger in Guadalajara, Hotel Zona Rosa. Jessica responded immediately, already on it. Stay in your room. Lock everything. I'm trying to reach the consulate emergency line. For the next 3 hours, Sarah didn't move from the corner of her room, a heavy lamp clutched in her hands as an improvised weapon. Every sound in the hallway made her jump. She called Emma, trying to keep her voice steady, not wanting to frighten her daughter. Mom, just come home, Emma pleaded, hearing the fear in Sarah's voice despite her efforts. Whatever's happening, just come home. I will, baby. Tomorrow afternoon. I promise. At 10 p.m., Sarah's phone rang. An unknown number with a Mexican area code. Against her better judgment, she answered. Sarah Mitchell? A woman's voice, speaking English with an American accent. Yes? Who is this? My name is Detective Garcia, Guadalajara Police, International Crimes Division. We received a call from the U.S. consulate about your situation. Can you tell me what's happening? Relief flooded through Sarah. Yes, there's a man. He brought me here under false pretenses. He's threatening me. He has photos. Slow down, Ms. Mitchell. Start from the beginning. Sarah explained everything. The online relationship, the lies about his appearance, the fake restaurant, the threats, the photos. Detective Garcia listened without interrupting. Ms. Mitchell, the detective said when Sarah finished, you're describing a pattern we know well. The man you know as Miguel Rodriguez. That's not his real name. His real name is Javier Ortiz. He's part of an organized group that targets American women through dating sites. What do they want? Money? It starts with money. Small amounts, then larger. But if the victim becomes suspicious like you did, Detective Garcia paused. The threats escalate. Sometimes they take things, jewelry, credit cards, sometimes worse. We've been trying to catch this group for 6 months. Sarah's voice broke. What do I do? He knows where I live, where my daughter goes to school. Most of those threats are empty. They rely on fear. But I'm sending 2 officers to your hotel now. They'll escort you to a safer location for tonight. Tomorrow, we'll get you to the airport early. Can you stay calm until they arrive? Yes, thank you. Thank you so much. One more thing, Ms. Mitchell. When my officers arrive, they'll identify themselves properly. Don't open the door for anyone else, understand? Not hotel security, not anyone else. 20 minutes later, there was a knock. Senora Mitchell, Policía de Guadalajara. Sarah looked through the peephole and saw 2 uniformed officers. But after Detective Garcia's warning, she was cautious. "Show me your badges," she called out. They held their badges up to the peephole. They looked official, but Sarah had no way to verify. "Detective Garcia sent you?" Sarah asked. "Si, Detective Garcia. She called us. Please, Senora, it's not safe for you here. We take you to another place." Sarah's instinct screamed danger. Something was wrong. The officers hadn't said anything specific that proved they'd actually talked to Detective Garcia. And why would the detective send uniformed officers for a sensitive undercover situation? "I need to call Detective Garcia first," Sarah said, "to confirm." She dialed the number that had called her earlier. It rang and rang. No answer. The knocking became more insistent. "Senora, please, we have information about the man bothering you. We need to move quickly." Sarah's phone buzzed with a text from the detective's number. "Don't open the door. Those aren't my officers. Stay inside. Real help coming." Terror seized her as she heard the officers speaking in rapid Spanish outside her door. Then one said to the other, in English, clearly meant for her to hear, "Call Miguel. She's not cooperating." Sarah backed away from the door, grabbed her passport and phone, and ran to the window, 4 stories up. No fire escape, no way out. She was trapped, and the wolves were at the door. Sarah heard the fake officers arguing in Spanish outside her door, then a keycard beeping. They were unlocking her room, no time to think. She grabbed the bedside lamp, ripped it from the wall, and positioned herself behind the door. Her phone was dialing emergency services, 911 in Mexico. The door opened. A man in a police uniform stepped inside. "Senora Mitchell, please don't." Sarah swung the lamp with everything she had. It connected with his shoulder. He stumbled, cursing in Spanish. She bolted past him into the hallway, screaming in English, "Help! Police! Someone help me!" Doors opened. Tourists peered out. The fake officer grabbed for her, but an elderly American man stepped between them. "What the hell is going on?" the American demanded. Real sirens wailed outside. Through the hallway window, Sarah saw actual police cars, 3 of them, screeching to a stop in front of the hotel. The fake officers ran for the stairs. Sarah collapsed against the wall, sobbing as real officers flooded the building. A woman in plain clothes approached, Detective Garcia, finally in person. "You're safe now," Garcia said softly. "You're safe." Chapter 6. Aftermath. The Truth Behind the Lies. Tampa, Florida, December 2023. Sarah sat in Detective Garcia's Zoom call, Emma beside her holding her hand. "We arrested 2 of the fake officers," Garcia explained, "but Javier Ortiz escaped. He's done this to 17 women we know of, American, Canadian, European. Some lost money. Others, like you, got out before it went further." "What was the end game?" Sarah asked. "Kidnapping, usually. Hold you for ransom from family or force you to drain bank accounts, sometimes trafficking. You were smart to fight back."